Okay, so today we are going to be talking about asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction um, goes along with mitosis because remember, mitosis is when cells divide and make identical daughter cells. So that's what asexual reproduction is. It's when we have one parent and it makes essentially offspring. It makes offspring. So it doesn't need two parents. And then that means that the offspring or the babies are an exact copy of the parent. So it's kind of like a clone. The parent and the offspring are exactly alike because the offspring didn't come from two parents. So it didn't come from a mom's traits and a dad's traits mixed together. It only came from one parent, so it's exactly like that one parent. So one negative thing about asexual reproduction is it doesn't develop much variety. What that means is people are all different. None of us are exactly the same. We might have the same kind of hair, we might have the same kind of eyes, but no one is exactly the same. Even twins have things that are different about them. Even when they're identical, there's little things that are different about them. And maybe it's their personality. Maybe one person has a mole and the other person doesn't. But they're not exactly alike. With asexual reproduction, they are exactly alike. So the reason that that's bad is, for example, if I'm allergic to, let's just say, if I'm allergic to peanut butter, that means, and I was the only parent, and that means all of my offspring would be allergic to peanut butter. And so eventually the entire species would be allergic to peanut butter. So the reason that that's bad is because if I ever came in contact with peanut butter, or anyone else did, that would wipe out the entire species. Whereas with humans, we have variety. And so not one thing can knock us out. Okay, the next thing that we're going to talk about today is regeneration. So for your notes, if you have not already answered number 1 and I believe number 2, go ahead and take a second and do that. You can pause if you need to. With regeneration, it is a type of asexual reproduction. And it says regeneration refers to the process by which plants and animals replace the lost or damaged parts by growing them anew. Some animals can regenerate their limbs, tails, or even parts of internal organs such as the liver. So the best way to explain what regeneration is look at this picture. So this is a starfish, and you can see one of his little arms was cut off or damaged in some way, so it's not all the way there. So starfish can actually grow. If they lose a leg, they can actually regrow it. So obviously with humans, if your arm got cut off or your legs got cut off, you can't grow a new one. You would have to get an artificial leg or arm. But starfish can actually grow their parts back. So that's what regeneration is. Here's another picture with a lizard. This lizard had part of his tail cut off, and you can see with the second picture, he grew it back through regeneration. And then these are all type, Planarian and Hydra are both part, they're like water animals. And so you can see same thing happened here. If, we cut part of a planetarian and we cut it in half, it can actually grow into two. So this piece, even though it wasn't a full planetarian, it will grow into a new planetarian. This hydra, if we cut it in two, it can grow into a new hydra. And then with the starfish, if we cut this little piece off, it can grow into a whole nother starfish. So that's what regeneration is. The next word, so go ahead and make sure that you have the next answer on your notes about regeneration. On the next one, binary fission, it says is single-celled organisms such as amoeba, Parenicium, and Euglena, which use asexual reproduction, can do simply by dividing into two equal halves. This is called binary fission. So essentially, one amoeba, which is a type of bacteria, can turn into two bacteria. And then here it just says, with binary fission, it's a good way to produce lots and lots of offspring, because again, one can turn into two, and then those two can make more, and so on. So it's a good way to build a population. So it also says the cell of a I can't say that word correctly, paramecium, can divide, grow, and divide again in the space of 8 hours. So that's a type of freshwater animal as well. What that's saying is, without any other parent, one parent can make a new offspring within 8 hours. Humans take 9 months to make new offspring. Okay, the next type of asexual reproduction is called budding. Budding is when an offspring grows out of the body of the parent. So again, the best way to explain that is to show you this. This is a hydra. So again, it grows in water. So if you see here, this is the hydra, and then this is its baby, or if its offspring. So the offspring is growing out of the parent. And essentially what will happen is when the offspring is full grown, it will detach from the parent and it will become its own hydra. Over here, different kind of cactus. You can see the little green part is the offspring, and it's growing from the purple parent. And eventually when the green offspring gets completely done, it'll be its own cactus, and it will detach from the parent. Here's another picture. This is a picture of yeast in a microscope. So it says, in yeast, the cell does not divide equally into two halves. Instead, there's a large mother and a smaller daughter cell. So this part is the mother, this is the daughter. And again, eventually they will detach. That's what budding is when they detach. This is another picture of just a hydra, which is what you saw a couple of slides ago. It's just a picture of one. So you can see at first, here's the baby starting to grow. With number 2, it's getting a little bit bigger. Number 3, it's starting to get so big, it's hanging off, and then finally it detaches. So that's what budding is. The best example that you've probably seen in your real life with budding is on a potato. If you've ever seen these weird, nasty looking things coming out of your potato, that's budding. That's actually your potato going through mitosis and creating identical daughter cells. So this is a version of asexual reproduction, where eventually, if we didn't eat the potato and, scrape those things off, eventually that could become a new potato. The next part, make sure that you've written your definition of budding. The next part is fragmentation. So with fragmentation, it says, in this form, the body of the parent breaks into distinct pieces, each of which can produce an offspring. So essentially, fragmentation is when a piece breaks off and starts a new life. So it says pieces of coral broken off in storms can grow into new colonies. So if this piece of coral ever broke off, it could actually just start growing into a new piece of coral. Okay, and then same thing with the starfish. It's similar to what you saw earlier. A new starfish can grow from a detached arm. So if you cut off an arm of a starfish, it could actually grow into a new starfish. This is again another picture of fragmentation. So if I cut this water animal, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's a water animal of some sort. If I cut it into 4 different pieces, it could actually create 4 different water animals. Also, people do this a lot with plants, fragmentation with plants. So some plants can grow from cutting them and replanting them. So this is a person cutting off like a stem of a plant, like a flower, and then replanting it, and it can grow into its own plant. So if you had a plant and you wanted to share it with somebody, you could say, oh, take the stem and then replant it, and it'll regrow. And then finally, this is parthenogenesis. Parthenogenesis is another form of asexual reproduction, and it's where females produce eggs that develop without fertilization, meaning that this lizard, or I'm not sure what kind of lizard it is, but this lizard could make eggs, and it doesn't need a male to do anything to those eggs to make them hatch. So it says parthenogenesis is seen to occur naturally in some invertebrates, along with several fish, amphibians, and reptiles, as well as in many plants. And then it says there are known cases of parthenogenesis in mammals. So we're mammals, so obviously we don't have offspring by eggs, and then also humans need males and females. So the cool thing about parthenogenesis is it only needs a female. And so females can hatch their eggs without any male. Okay, so make sure that you have your note sheet filled out. Make sure that you explain all those different types of asexual reproduction in your own words. And finally, you probably realized this when I was talking about fragmentation, but fragmentation and regeneration are the same thing. So again, that's like if I cut a starfish's arm off and it grew into a new starfish. Both of those words mean the same thing. So if you haven't already, add that to your notes. You just might want to put a line in between both of them and put same thing, just so you know. But some people or some textbooks use one word and some use the other. Okay, but that's it for this video. Go ahead and check the board for your next assignment.